All right, guys. So I've been avoiding this conclusion for quite a while, but I can't hide from it anymore. To me, this was the absolute nail in the coffin, and it's time to talk about it. For a long time, in my mind and from the perspective of many other folks, both in new media and in the audience, we have put ourselves on a bit of a pedestal, right? We have said, no, independent media, new media, whatever you want to call it, we're not like the mainstream media assholes. We're different. We're better. We're more unfiltered. We're truth tellers. And we're just superior. So come here to get our takes and forget CNN, forget MSNBC, forget Fox News, forget the nightly news, forget it, right? They take all this corporate money and they do the bidding of the corporations and they're narrative humpers and they represent the establishment, all that stuff, right? And look, I stand by all my criticisms of mainstream media for sure. Corporate media has many downsides and many problems. But I am now ready to officially declare that independent media, new media, whatever you want to call it, it's a cesspool. It's a cesspool. New media has just as many problems as corporate media. They're different kind of problems, and we'll get to that, right? But it's a cesspool. It's a cesspool. Independent media, new media, whatever you want to call it, it's fucked, right? The overwhelming majority of the shit you see, whether it be on YouTube or TikTok or in podcasts or whatever, mostly garbage. Mostly fucking garbage. So, okay, the nail in the coffin, and this will help me build my case. I'm going to start with this. So this video came out the other day. Bill O'Reilly was debating Stephen A. Smith, and we get this incredible moment that I have a lot to say about.
So now, you're a common sense broadcaster, because I said you're ambidextrous. You do sports and you do contemporary things that are beyond sports.
Yes, sir.
You must know how corrupt the corporate media is, even though you work for ABC. And I don't want you to badmouth ABC. They're doing right by you, okay? Because you deliver for them. Same thing. When you deliver, you get paid, as they say in the dugouts of every Major League Baseball team. Mm-hmm. But you must know the level of corruption in this country that seeks to destroy Donald Trump, not only as a candidate, but as a human being. And a lot of that destruction directed at him has affected him and affects this race. So we may elect a president that is not capable of running this country. Kamala Harris, I don't believe she's capable of running it. Where we know Trump is capable, whether you like him or not, that's a disturbing situation. Last word.
I don't know that he's capable at this point because of the point you just made. I think that he has been, listen, I've been on the record saying, go get him. If you go beat him. Stop looking for all the assistance in the world. I understand they felt they had cases against them. The insurrection on January 6th, the vote, looking for 11,000 votes, 11,700 votes in Georgia and all of this other stuff. I've been of the mindset, go out there and beat him. All right, if he is all that you say he is, go out there and beat him. There is no doubt in my mind. It's not about one network. It's not about anybody. The corporate media, as you will call it, clearly doesn't want him on board. But when are we going to ask the question from your vantage point, Bill, as to what he does to bring it on himself? The presidency is a statesman's position. It's about galvanizing. It's about bringing the country together. It's about unifying all of us and making sure that we understand the priority that America needs to be and conducting ourselves accordingly. You've got cabinet members out of the wazoo that talk about him at every turn because he called them every name under the sun. He dismissed them. He questioned their intelligence. He did everything after he didn't want them anymore. He just twist and turn, even turned against Fox News at one point. And we all know what they did to help him along the way. He does damage to himself without getting into all the other stuff that people want to say about him. That you and I ain't interested in. He brings it on himself. We have chronicled
that here. And by the way, just for your information, and I appreciate the kind words about the O'Reilly factor, we reach more people here on a daily basis now than I ever reached it. Through social media, through YouTube. I didn't know. Nobody knows because the corporate media won't tell you that.
Okay. First of all, that's a fucking lie. Bill O'Reilly does not reach more people with his podcast and his YouTube show than he did back when he was on Fox. He was the #1 cable news show in the country when he was on Fox News. Beat every other news outlet. How many views does this video have? 39,000. You're Bill O'Reilly and you're interviewing Stephen A. Smith. These are two very top level commentators. Bill O'Reilly was on Fox News for 700 years, and Stephen A. Smith is still on ESPN Plus now. He does his podcast and shit. 39,000. No, stop. You don't reach more now than you did. Stop it. That's first point. Second point is Bill O'Reilly repeatedly in this little clip I showed you was the corporate media won't tell you. Bill, you are the epitome of corporate media. Guys, understand, it's not like he went from Fox News Bill O'Reilly to YouTube show Bill O'Reilly and his politics changed and he started telling you the truth about a variety of issues. No, he's the same fucking guy he was when he was on 8 p.m. Eastern time on Fox News. The same Republican talking points where he puts the veneer of like, no, I'm an independent and I'm not a partisan over it. It's the same shit. It's the same shit. So, okay, why do I say corporate media, or excuse me, why do I say new media, independent media is now a cesspool? Because it is. Everybody knows the problem with mainstream media. Everybody knows, they're paid by the advertisers and the corporations, and they do the bidding of the corporations, and they're beholden to the narrative of the establishment. Fox News is just cucked to the Republican Party and Trump. MSNBC is cucked to the Democratic Party and Biden, et cetera, right? CNN does a little bit of both sidesism, has the fake neutrality stuff going on, but it's all pro-establishment garbage. Everybody knows that. But the problem with new media, there are way bigger problems with new media, okay? So what are those problems? First of all, let's start with the obvious and what you're seeing here. A lot of the people now in independent/new media, it's just, they're from old media. Like, think about the people who just did the migration, right? Bill O'Reilly. Megyn Kelly, who also is just doing the same thing she did on Fox News. If anything, you could argue she's more self-censoring now. She was conservative when she was on Fox News, but she was at least somewhat critical of Trump. Now she's in the independent media space, and I think she feels pressure like, I have to be on Team Trump in order to stay relevant. So she does that on a daily basis. She makes excuses for him. She argues for him. You got Bill O'Reilly. You got Megyn Kelly. Chris Cuomo is now with the PBD guys. Like, a lot of people from that world just crossed over to this world and brought the same fucking problems that they had in corporate media. Then you have, the podcast landscape, the somewhat comedy-oriented, but also political-oriented. You got the Joe Rogans, you got the PBD podcast, you got the Trigonometry podcast and stuff like that. And look, you got to call a spade a spade. A lot of these outlets sort of portray themselves as, no, we're just real, reasonable people having reasonable conversations. And we're like centrist-y and stuff, bro. We're not like ideologues, bro. But at the end of the day, they may call themselves centrists or moderates, but they just end up effectively helping Trump and the right wing. They do this, they take this posture of like, hey, we're above the fray, we're independent thinkers. But then at the end of the day, jiu-jitsu move, here's 90% of the show is criticizing and shitting on liberals and Democrats and leftists and, implying Trump support, if not in some circumstances, outright claiming the Trump support, right? So you have the veneer of centrism, but at the end of the day, just supporting Republicans and Trump and right-wing shit, right? And then you have, of course, what we discussed the other day on the show, the Bernie to Trump pipeline, which is not really a phenomenon among regular voters, among regular people, but it certainly is a phenomenon among politicians and activists and high-profile media people, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Jimmy Dore, Russell Brand, people like that. You have this, they're so-called anti-establishment folks, but functionally, yet again, they, through jiu-jitsu move, turns out we're going to suck off Trump all day and act like he's the lesser evil. And then I haven't even gotten into the audience capture is such a fucking problem in this space, man. People will just, if they piss their audience off by saying something, they will just almost immediately cuck themselves and fall in line and just start feeding the audience whatever slop they think the audience wants to hear, right? And so this is how you get a situation where so many different podcasts and new media outlets are just flat out wrong on election shit and stop the steal and Trump won. And so you get election misinformation out the wazoo. Nobody even gives a fuck to look at the facts, look at the Jack Smith indictment against Trump. Probably the only person in fucking new media that bothered to read the Jack Smith indictment and learn the basic facts about what the charges against Trump were. And by the way, they're pretty fucking ironclad. COVID misinformation. You see that people still riding the fucking anti-COVID wave shit, the anti-vaccine bullshit. And look, you got to call a spade a spade. Are there some people in the new media, independent media space that do a decent job? Yes, I think there are some people who do a decent job. But we are not, by any stretch of the imagination, in this new media landscape, a fucking panacea. Not even close. In fact, as I said, in some instances, we could be worse. How many times have you heard this bullshit talking point from somebody in new media? You know, corporate media, mainstream media, they're so terrible, they're so bad. And, you know, Alex Jones gets stuff right a lot more often than corporate media. Anybody who has ever used that talking point, you should immediately write them off everything they have to say for the rest of your fucking life. Immediately. That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Alex Jones, like, he's 96% dead wrong and flat out making shit up, right? 4% of the time he happens to stumble across something that's correct. And you got all the independent media folks going, oh, look at this. Look, oh, he got that right. Could you believe he got that right? He's like a prophet, Tucker Carlson said. He's like a prophet. I haven't even gotten into Tucker Carlson as one of the worst offenders in this so-called new media, independent media. He's like a prophet, Alex Jones. He gets things right. Meanwhile, mainstream media can get stuff right 84% of the time. Doesn't count. Nobody ever talks about it. Nobody ever gives them credit. It's just a fucking cesspool. It's a bunch of virtue signaling grifters in many instances. It's terminal contrarians, as I call them, and narrative humpers, and audience-captured freaks who have zero principles, zero integrity or credibility, and they repeatedly humiliate themselves, but since they've built a big enough audience, they think like, oh, we must be doing something right. No, not even close. And this was the video that really was the nail in the coffin to me, where I was like, okay, now we got Bill O'Reilly, the king of corporate media, out there like, the corporate media is lying to you. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, so now new media, independent media, we have Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Bill O'Reilly, Chris Cuomo, the worst offenders of that world, now virtue signaling like they're some sort of fucking heroes and truth tellers just because they happen to do a show online instead of in a studio in New York City, right? And then that's to say nothing of the other centrists that are just right-wing and the anti-establishment folks who are just right-wing. New media is a fucking cesspool, and you need to know that. You need to understand that. Don't make the mistake of thinking, oh, as long as somebody postures as being anti-establishment, they're trustworthy. No, you could take anti-establishment views to the dumbest possible fucking place. And I've seen it a million times. I'm sure you've seen it too. But a great example of this is every reasonable person is anti-big pharma because of the price gouging, because they rob people, right? We invest up front. The taxpayers do. The universities create the medicine. Then Big Pharma swoops in, buys up the rights to it, sells it back to you and price gouges you. You pay for it on the front end and you pay for it on the back end. The medicines work, but you're being price gouged. That's the real criticism. Nationalize Big Pharma. That's the real criticism. Then a bunch of idiots take that and they go one step further. No. The problem isn't the price gouging. The problem is in capitalism and the profit motive. The problem is that the medicines actually don't work. And Bill Gates is trying to poison you and put a microchip in you through the vaccine. And they're actually trying to poison you and kill you with toxic drugs that don't actually work. So they go from being anti-big pharma, reasonable, they cross the line into, I'm just anti-modern medicine and anti-vaccine, and I'm a fucking idiot who wouldn't know a placebo-controlled double-blind study if it hit me over the fucking head. That's what happens in this space. And I just need everybody to be aware. Don't take anything you see in corporate media face value for obvious reasons, but also don't take everything you see or anything you see in new media and independent media at face value. Because there's a lot of fucking people out there who are full of shit, who are lying to you, who don't know their ass from their elbow, and they think just because I'm online, I can suck myself off and act like I'm some sort of hero truth teller. No, you're not. Get over yourself. All right. That's the show. All right, I love you guys. I'll see everybody tomorrow. You know the drill. Please subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. Remember, I've never talked to an advertiser, and I never will talk to an advertiser. You guys help fund the show $2 at a time, $5 at a time with Patreon. So if you'd like to support, that's below. You can also tip with the thanks button on YouTube as well. And I'll see you guys later. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.